Hello, ladies. Today we have a very special guest, a graduate of our signature program, Minling, who we feel had really a lot of successes, a lot of progress. I hope she's going to share a lot about this unique work, what she learned, um, results she had, experiences in dating, and I think it'll give you a unique lens into this work that Minling, she showed up for this. We would both give her an A in this program. And what we see is people that are cool and coachable tend to have very extreme results. So we're going to dive in. And I think our first question for you, Minling, is just to ask you what your love life was like before you came into this work.
Oh, wow. I would say non-existent because I took a 2-year break since my previous relationship. I just needed time for myself. So I wasn't really getting back into the dating world. And I was desiring to meet my man, but I felt like a lot of the same patterns were showing up in my relationship, which is why I took that long break to really work on myself. But I would say it was non-existent since I wasn't really dating.
What were some of those patterns that you were careful to avoid?
I think the main one was getting too deep into a relationship and getting into like a situationship versus being fully claimed and losing myself in the relationship to try to keep the relationship going and overextending myself without having the right measures in place to protect myself from diving in with my heart too deeply before I knew that the person was claiming me.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think a lot of women can relate to that. I think like modern dating is almost like set us up to do that, sort of like do things out of order and just go really like by our feelings alone and just be like, wow, I'm so attracted to this man. I have such big, deep feelings for this person. I'm just going to kind of like open myself up to him completely without really vetting him, who he is and like really taking the time to make sure that, like you said, there are certain parameters in place before I really do devote myself to someone completely. So yeah, I think a lot of women can relate to what you're saying, just like getting stuck in situationships and kind of overextending. And I think that's, yeah, it's really, really common. But like, yeah, I'm really glad that you decided to do something differently. So I'm just curious, like, was there anything in particular that like, when you found our work, was there something in particular that really spoke to you or really caused you to want to dive in?
I would say the courtship part, because that is something that I don't think a lot of dating really talks about. It talks about how to get the man, or it's like playing games, and it's like do this, and then they'll come to you, or whatever it is. And it felt very surface, but I really liked the part about having the courtship and going back to the traditional ways of dating. I think. Like you said, modern dating has set us up to fail, and I was just tired of modern dating. And I also loved the fact that you both were in a long-standing relationship, married. I think a lot of dating coaches out there, as well, or relationship coaches, don't have the long-lasting relationship and they're giving advice. So those were the two things that stood out to me, your relationship to each other, and then also going back to the old courting methods and ways.
Yeah, I love that so much because we're all about the old the old ways, right? Taking the best of the old because we're not talking about like having arranged marriages or something. When some people think about old world, they think about like the extreme version of that, but like taking the best of the old and like really taking the courtship piece and the the intentional piece and the slow piece and really applying that to kind of your relationships in the modern world. And in your experience going on this journey, how was it for you to go on a courtship journey versus a modern dating journey? Did you find like the men were showing up in a different way? Or like what was different, even before I asked that question? What was different about the way that you started showing up as you began doing this work versus maybe how you were showing up before?
I would say I didn't dive in as deeply. Like, there were a few guys in the beginning that I had a lot of chemistry with.
Mhm.
And I think that would have clouded my judgment a little bit more, and I would have dove in to those relationship and not given other people a chance. And so it helps me take a pause, and especially because, you guys had certain parameters or boundaries that you invited us to set. And so I was holding those boundaries in the back of my mind with the dating process, and it really helped me see the men reveal themselves to me over time versus just going off of my chemistry and emotions and diving too deeply, too quickly for the wrong person.
Yeah. And how did you find that the men responded to you differently when you held these boundaries or when you set those perimeters and really did take a more intentional, slow approach?
They would either self-select out or self-select in. So it was
Yes,
it was
exactly.
really eye-opening when I set certain boundaries, especially around the physical boundaries with certain men. And even though we had high chemistry and they wanted to take it further than I was ready to take at the time, and they pretty much made it abundantly clear that they did not want to wait. And so that made it clear to me that they did not want, a long-standing relationship potentially. And it really did protect me because I only went on, a couple dates with them. So I wasn't in a long situation. And I think it prevented me from getting into another situationship that had no potential to grow into a potential marriage.
Mm, I love that. And so the men who self-selected out, like that, it sounds like that really gave you the clarity to really know, okay, this is not my person. But
Mhm.
what about the men who self-selected in, like the men who, because I think there's a little bit of a myth perhaps today, or it's not, its base definitely has some truth to it, but there's this idea that like all men are only after one thing, and like men, there aren't any marriage-minded men anymore, there aren't any husband material men. Did you find that like setting boundaries with certain men, like even um, caused them to want to rise to the occasion even more?
I did. The person that I'm currently with right now, he definitely did show up. And there was a period when I was out of town for about 2.5 weeks on vacation with some of my family, and he kept on showing up, even though I placed, a boundary on the physical aspect. And he texted every day almost while I was gone. I was in Antarctica, so it was a little harder to have any kind of
Excited to go.
phone calls or anything like that. So, but he made sure that he wanted to know that I made it there safe. He wanted to make sure that I made it home safe. He wanted to make sure that I was having a good time, telling me how much he, missed me. And so like there were points where I felt like he really rose up to the occasion, and more so than other men that were only looking for the physical part.
Mm, so good. Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to ask a couple questions at the beginning because Claudia and I firmly believe if you're coachable and cool, meaning low drama, good person, and committed, and I was very confident with you that we'll get this result. I think we're seeing that in effect. But the biggest thing ladies do to change their life is make the decision to enter this work. It's actually the hardest thing. And once that's done, I think things kind of flow.
Mm.
You had taken 2 years, and like so many ladies, you had been following us for a while. What was it where it was like, you know what, I'm ready to go on the journey to find my husband?
Mhm. I felt like I was just ready to find that person. I'm a little bit older, and I felt like because I am older, I want to have kids. I just didn't feel like I wanted to waste any more time. And I think it was very clear from my last relationship that I was in that I was not choosing the right people, and I needed support in making sure that I chose the right person, especially because I want this person to be the last person that I choose, and he chooses me and all that stuff. And I just don't want to waste any more time because I am getting older, and I didn't trust myself to make the right decision because I had a pattern of making the wrong decision.
This is something we just love about this work. Courtship, it sounds lovely, and it is. It's like a Cinderella season to your husband, but it's quick. We call it the 80-20 rule. We see coaches spend 80% of their time on stuff that's not going to get them married. Whereas here, it's like you just need to focus on the essentials. But you had one early point where I was like, okay, we're going to move through this. And it was that line of men don't get off the apps and
Mhm.
ask for dates. And we hear this all the time when we do
Mm.
surveys of women that are not working with us yet. This is one of the top five. And I remember you telling me that on a call, and then I came on the call 2 weeks later because we rotate for this Claudia and me each week, and you were already had like three dates lined up. So what
Mm.
happened to break through that barrier?
I think there was a lot of work, internal work, because I know Claudia does a lot of somatic work, and I think we did some healing in between that time period as well. I can't remember exactly what we healed, but we did some healing work where I was open to like receiving. And then also, I think part of the process for me was just shifting my belief and believing that it was possible for me. And I think that was a big key of being like, okay, it is possible. I've had dates before. Like it is, there are good men, and just reminding myself that there are good men, like you both tell us, is that there are like marriage-minded men that are out there, and just believing in that helped give me confidence to move forward and to approach things differently. And I think also the coursework where it helps me communicate in a way that inspired a man to ask me out in the way that I showed up in the apps. I think that also helped as well.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. Do you mind
Oh, your
saying?
photos were lovely. You did what we call our profiles. The women copied the same template. We call it the husband hunter. It does the work for you. And I thought yours was just so beautifully laid out that I was confident. But it was so nice to see you just, I didn't have to resolve it. I didn't have to say, come on, do it. In 2 weeks, you had resolved that issue and it got into these other ones. Like you started moving through the stages. Now, the final thing I want to say is you and I worked on communication a lot in this work. And it was so amazing to see you going from what do I say in this situation or this to the end. I'm like, to the other ladies, Minling, what do we write here? And you were coming up with better responses than you were using the same formula I was, but you knew exactly what to say in these situations. And I especially think communicating boundaries. So, what were some of the shifts in communication that you had during this journey?
Yeah, I feel like leaning back a little bit in the communication, so that not trying to force, not trying to create an outcome, or trying to accuse anybody of anything, giving men the benefit of the doubt, and communicating in a way that shared my desires, without making him feel wrong, but instead inspiring him to step up, and using those languages really helped um, me share what I really wanted, without making him feel bad and wrong that he didn't do it yet. I think we can, as women, can be like, why didn't you do this? When are you going to do this? And that can make a man not want to step up and feel like he's being micromanaged, instead of inspiring him to step up through my desires, and sharing what I would love for us to do, or what I would love, or what I would enjoy.
I love that. I feel like that one thing will take you all the way through relationship, engagement, marriage, and beyond. Like that one skill. Like it's profound. Like it's really, really everything that you said there is really, really deep. Like how to actually express your desires in a way that inspires him to want to step up versus what the other things that we do, like nagging or, being really direct or like making him wrong in some way. Just being able
Mhm.
to communicate your desires, like what you want, what you enjoy, what you would love. It's such a game changer.
Yeah. And I also say the appreciation. I
Mm.
really wanted to show up and appreciate the men who are showing up, like of what they were doing. So they felt like I think you say this, that they can win. They have like small wins. They know that they can win with me. And so that also helped.
Beautiful. What would you say to women who say that like men today don't pursue or men today um, don't lead or they don't want to do nice things for us? Or like, what would you say? I'm curious if you ever had any of that belief system, or
Mhm.
maybe you didn't exactly have it quite that way, but like, what would you say to women maybe who have all this skepticism or have all this like, oh, just men today aren't this way. They aren't chivalrous. They aren't gentlemen. They don't pursue, they don't lead.
Yeah. And I've definitely dealt with that in past relationships where I didn't feel like the man was stepping up or being chivalrous. I will say it's our energy, first of all, it's of receiving. That is most important to inspire a man to actually want to step up. But in this journey, like I did find men did want to step up, especially the person that I'm with right now. He was the one that pursued. I mean, even after our first date, he gave me, because it was in February, he gave me a gift card to Starbucks for Valentine's Day. And this was after one date. And so he did show up for me and he continues to. He makes me breakfast, he does all these kind gestures. He drives to me. And I would say that there are men out there. It's one, we get to inspire them by being able to be open and receptive to the actions that they are taking and to appreciate that. And two, I think it also is around picking the right person because there are men that don't want to do that. And it's really discerning which men will actually step up and which men won't. And sometimes we end up picking the wrong men that reinforce our belief versus being open to other men that are out there that just need a chance. I in the beginning of the relationship, I also was dating other people and like I felt like I had stronger connections, but he kept on showing up. And by me giving him a chance and opening up my dating pool, I was able to really find somebody that had a lot of strong character and was really willing to pursue and step up.
That's so beautiful.
I was thinking about you today and many women in this work, and most often it's not the one leading in the beginning who ends up being the husband, or in your case, the leading suitor right now, and it seems to be heading in that direction. And I think it shows a thing of being very careful about chemistry. People are trying to find husband on first dates. You knew not to do that. And
Mhm.
you let the vetting process do its work for you.
Mhm.
And and sometimes it's great when they don't initiate because you can say, not that one. But there were
Mhm.
plenty who did. What are some of the qualities of your man, of the man you're seeing, that we can highlight for other ladies so they can see these men are out there? I know you've described it a little bit, but I'd like to hear a little bit more about it.
I would say one quality is he's very protective in a good way. He makes sure that I get home safe. He reminds me to lock my door and stuff like that. And he's always making sure that I'm okay and very cared for. I would also say he also prays over us as well too. There are times he sends me messages with like his prayer for the night for us, praying that like I'm protected, I'm safe, like I have a good night's sleep. He also is very nurturing. He loves to cook, and so he shows up in a way that he wants to provide. Basically, I think the nurturing and providing is really big for him. He's definitely a provider, in every sense of the word. We're going on a trip, and he wants to provide and he wants to contribute and he wants to do all this stuff without me even having to ask. I think those are some good qualities. He also like very close to his family. I think that's really important to like understand in the beginning of like the relationship of your potential suitor with their family. And I think that tells you a lot about the type of person they are. But yeah, he's definitely a protector, provider, nurturer, and he just really cares.
I love it so much because he's like the full package man, right?
Yeah.
He's got like the masculine qualities of protection, provision. He wants to make sure you're safe. He's always looking after you. He's he's making sure that your needs are met. He's cooking you breakfast, all of these things. But he's also like a gentleman. Like he's very kind. He's very like considerate. He is very chivalrous. So I
Hmm.
think this balance for women can be really challenging. Like often they'll meet a guy who's like maybe really nice, who maybe even kind of kind or gentle, but he lacks that sort of masculine instinct to protect and to provide and to lead. Um, and then on the other hand, women can often go for men who are like super masculine, like alpha males, right? But they
Hmm.
don't have that chivalry, they don't have that nobility of heart, that character that really does make them husband material. So you have like the full package man, like the knightly gentleman who really is he's both masculine and he's gentle, which is so, I don't want to say it's rare, but it's like the way that you showed up that really you were the match to that type of man, and then you also went on a journey of really discerning those qualities and vetting over time. So I'm curious, Minling,
Hmm.
have you ever dated a man like this before? Is this like
It's been a long time. I would
okay?
say a very, very long time. I feel like the person that I dated in college was really like this. And then
Mm,
since then, I had a string of like men that didn't show up in
mm.
the way. So it's been quite a long time since then. So it was really refreshing when he did all those things. And I would also add one more thing. I think consistency is big because
Yes.
there was like never a moment where like he left or ghosted or didn't communicate even when I was in Antarctica. I think that was like really big in moving our relationship forward, that he was always communicating with me at some point and making sure I knew that he was thinking about me and cared about me and couldn't wait to see me and all that stuff too.
Consistency is such a big one. I think for the feminine nervous system too, especially if we have some kind of like anxious attachment stuff, which I know a lot of women do, but it's like having a man show up consistently over time, there's something so healing about that. Like, wouldn't you agree? Like your nervous system is
Yeah.
just like, like there's a steadiness here. There's like it's like this real steady presence that you can just relax into, that you can really like your nervous system can just exhale. And
Hmm.
I just think it's so beautiful that you're experiencing that. And that's one of the qualities of this man.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, he's still to this day like good morning, good evening, good night. We text each other since we live a little bit further away. And also, he calls me in the morning, he calls me in the evening, and so we have like all these different like touch points. Now he also calls me during his lunch too, so there's maybe that's a lot of calls, but we live further away, so it's kind of nice to have like these little check-ins, and he always tells me like how much he cares for me and like much he's like so grateful that I'm in his life and he appreciates me and I do the same, and so I think just having somebody that values that and can communicate that is very important.
I love that so much. Yeah. I mean, do you feel like you met like a rare unicorn man, or do you feel like these men are out there and I know that's a strange question to ask, but again, I'm just like wanting to like kind of maybe bust some of the myths that women have around dating and around men, because yeah, maybe it's not like every man, right? And we're not looking for every man. We are looking for a special man. But it's like,
Hmm.
I guess the what's so beautiful and inspiring about this conversation is that like he didn't necessarily feel like a needle in a haystack. Like there's like all of these horrible experiences that you're having with men, and it's just like, oh my gosh, one after another is terrible. And then, you just miraculously meet this one guy who's not like the others. Like, do you feel like what do you feel like first of all, what might you say to a woman who thinks maybe she's listening to this and she thinks, oh, lucky for her, she got lucky, right? She got this needle in a haystack unicorn man, and that's not possible for me, or that's just so rare, or like what might you say to her?
I would say it's not as rare as you think. I think it first starts with us as women and being open and receptive. I think I believe in energy, so we need to be an energetic match for the man to actually show up and step up. And
Yes.
I think that they are out there. And even, the other guys that I dated, they showed different qualities that I appreciated in men. And I was always looking at those qualities that I appreciate. And I felt like every man that I dated from the beginning, it just got better and better and better. And so men might not have the full package, but if you're on this journey, you'll find that there's men that are willing to show up and just, they might not be the right match in that moment for you or for various reasons, but then the next one will get better and better and better. And I just felt like each person that I was dating on this journey just showed me what I wanted and what I desired, and I just honed in on that, and that helped me, meet my match, my current person that I'm dating, and I think it really does start with us, and it's not as rare. We think it's rare is because we are looking at the wrong things and just focusing on the wrong things, and it's what you focus on is what you get. And so I think if you focus on the qualities that you do desire and see the good in men and good qualities of the men that are showing up, even if they're not the right match, you'll eventually find your unicorn. I think there isn't a unicorn, but it's your
Right.
your unicorn.
It's your unicorn. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, so much wisdom there. And it's so simple, but like no one does it, right? Like
Hmm.
it's so true. Everything that you said, there's so much wisdom there. And like, yeah, for anyone listening or watching to this, like just really, I just invite you to take that in. It really is like what you focus on expands and what you appreciate appreciates, right? And like being able to maybe have an experience with a man who's not the full package, but he's got some of the qualities that you want, just really taking your time to really enjoy that and appreciate that. And doesn't mean you have to attach to that
Hmm.
person or marry that person, but it helps you hone in on more and more of what you want. And sometimes it's like, okay, this guy has these qualities, this other guy has these qualities. And then eventually you kind of hone in on the man who has, both or
Hmm.
the full package of what it is that you are looking for.
Yeah, and one thing I want to add on to that is that what you say in the program is like date lots of different suitors because it's building momentum, and like
Yes.
you want to continue that momentum forward. And I really felt it was momentum, like I did like some of the guys in I guess the beginning ones that I was dating, but they weren't the right match. And of course, there was grief when that didn't work out, but at the same time, I was just focused on the momentum and like the next, and it did get better and better and better, like you say.
So good. Yeah. How was that process of multiple dating for you? Because I think a lot of women maybe fear that, or they're afraid they're going to get overwhelmed, or they're afraid that other men aren't going to choose them because they're dating multiple people, or whatever it is. Like, how was that experience for you?
I felt it was a little bit more freeing because I wasn't attaching myself to any man in particular. And because of that, I wasn't able to, overthink as much and just get to enjoy and be more of my feminine when I'm not like so overly focused with one man. It was. I don't think I've ever had to like bring it up that I was dating multiple men and they didn't ask in that way. So I didn't have to deal with that as much, but it allowed me to be a little bit more relaxed in the way that I showed up. And I feel like that's what helped this relationship because I was dating other men at the time of the beginning of our relationship. So I wasn't really attached to the outcome of this one, and I could just be fun and free and just open. And I think it really helped, and I think it's what attracted him to me.
So much good. Yeah, so much gold there.
So much gold. I have a couple questions here. First, I also want to say this sums up the four pillars of our work. The lady, Minling changed a little bit. She didn't change who she was, her character, but she transformed to have a different experience in love. The quest, the men are set on a quest of initiation or not, chivalry or not. The knight, he shows up with knightly
Mm.
qualities. It's lady, the knight, the quest, and the test, and then we vet them over time. So you
Mhm.
did this very well. Now, for ladies that are like, wow, multiple suitors. First of all, it's not like dozens, but are they've had all these pitfalls of modern dating. I like what I like about this work is an inner transformation and it's a specific result. Awesome dates to husband. What are some of the ways men treated you during this time? Just so women can hear how it can go. What are some of the
Mm.
dates
Mm,
you had? What did they do for you? How'd they
mm.
step up?
Yeah, so they would, obviously like pay for the dates or dinner. And then they would one person took me to like the Getty Villa, beautiful romantic date. And he wanted to do another person wanted to do a sunset date as well. And then took me for ice cream afterwards. I've fun dates like bowling even, and we had like a fun little game, and we made it we had like fun little bets and stuff like that. So it
Oh,
was the gamut of the types of dates. But I think, like I said, they also showed up in the way that, they treated me. They opened the doors. They were like very affectionate. They were in a protective way as well. And yeah, there were a lot of fun dates that I got to go on. And they planned
Nice.
it, and they planned it, and I didn't have to lead it. That was like the main thing. I didn't have to like figure it out. They had a plan in place.
so good. Yeah. Did you find that like when you didn't step in and make a plan and start organizing things and initiating things, like they just did it? Like that
Hmm.
was your experience. Yeah.
They did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Beautiful.
nice.
Nice. Now, we had a couple moments. I thought when you went, it was Antarctica, correct?
Hmm.
Okay, Arctic, Antarctica, and penguins and the whole thing. But that's when he made his move. The consistency, yeah, I call this the turning point. Our last interview, there was a turning point where the suitor from behind suddenly takes the lead, and he took the lead there. We also had, remember, the hyper masculine guy,
Hmm.
and he showed up really strong. I had some concerns, you did too. And then you knew how to put your boundaries in, and that went in another direction. How was it? Because one thing in our work, Minling, is we don't just give you like this course and say, go figure it out. And we've done plenty of courses like that. We have a
Hmm.
weekly call with Claudia and then me to hand hold you and have the masculine perspective and the masculine and feminine perspective. So you really get through this in all the different steps and stages. How was that for you having like the hand holding going through it to make sure that you actually navigated this gauntlet in some ways?
I really loved it because I felt super supported by both of you. I knew that I could bring like any question, and I would have support, whether it was from the internal work that Claudia does and the feminine work, or from dating questions of like, how do I deal with this situation? And from a man's perspective with your work, Jonathan, it was very helpful to have both perspectives, and I felt very like held. And I was really sad when I had the last call. I was like, I don't want to leave. I feel so like safe. And I just felt like any question I had, you both had the answer, or had the right thing for me to focus on and redirect me. And either through like healing somatic work, or just being like, okay, this is what you need to say. This is how you need to communicate. And it was really helpful.
One thing
Fun.
oh, sorry. One thing I love about courtship is we always have an answer. I'm never sitting there not knowing what to do. Now, if it's feminine embodiment, I might say go talk to Claudia. But anything with men, there's always an answer. There's steps. There's not this confusion. And I
Mhm.
think one of the wise things you did is like, I need help. This is a skill set that I don't have. Do you feel like you're now sitting on a whole set of like a whole skill set for dating in an elegant and dynamic way where you pretty much know what you're doing now, at least in the courtship realm of things?
Mhm. I do. I do feel like I know what I'm doing in the courtship realm. And I do feel like, every relationship, like there's growth and evolving and changing, and our old patterns show up again. So I'm excited to go back into the work and re-listen to some of the modules to re-presence myself and remind myself of, staying in my feminine, because I think sometimes I can get out of that. So I feel like this work has been very valuable and transformative, and it feels like it's going to continue to support me as I continue to grow in this relationship.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just I feel like when you what we've seen again and again is when you set yourself up in this way from the beginning, it just gets better and better and better. Not to say you're not going to have old stuff come up or you're not going to slip on the banana peel sometimes or things are going to get challenging. Of course they do, because you're in a relationship with another human being and there's stuff that's going to come up and life happens and all these things. But when you start out in this way, it does tend to get better and better and better. And the way that we teach it, it really is like we as women set the tone. We create this atmosphere that inspires a man to want to step up and want to rise to the occasion. A good man, right? That wants to rise up and rise to the occasion and be our hero and be chivalrous and really take care of us. And then we get to appreciate him. And then by appreciating him, he feels appreciated. He feels even more like a hero. And that, so it compounds and it can get better and better and better. And you can spiral up with a man. So I think you have the foundations that you can really spiral up over time. Yes, there will be challenges, of course, because it's life, it's human relationships, but with this foundation that you have, really will be able to take you, you know, engagement, marriage and beyond. If that's what you want. So
Yeah, and I feel like the repairs are a lot easier because I
mm,
understand what's going on. And like you said, in every relationship you learn a lot about each other, and like there's going to be differences, and there might be like I might slip up, and I have, and or he might, and it's really interesting to have this dance. And I'm learning still a lot about myself and the way that I communicate, which is why I'm excited to go back into the work and really rewatch some of the videos. But I feel like it's set me up where even if there is a slip up, that we can repair, and it's not this like detrimental thing where it's like it just falls apart. And it's just about going back into the work and re-listening and re-presencing myself to some of the tools that you both provided that will support me as I continue to grow this relationship, or as this relationship continues to grow with him.
beautiful. Final question I wanted to ask you, and Jonathan might have another one, but your experience going down this journey and learning these skills and learning really how to be this, to hold this feminine tone that inspires a man, the right man, the good man, to step up. Do you feel like it's necessary for both people to be quote unquote doing their work? Because in our experience, that's not always true. Yes, of course, you don't want a man with a ton of trauma, right? Or he's got a ton of baggage that he's bringing to the table that you have to like, you don't want to get into that role of being his coach or his healer or his therapist or anything like that. But overall, do you feel like you're doing the work was kind of enough to, and not in an over functioning sort of way, like you're doing all the emotional labor for him, but you're just holding this tone and creating this space that he wants to step into, he wants to rise up for. Do you feel like that was enough?
I feel like it is enough, and I feel like I do set the tone, which is why like I want to go back into the work, because like how I show up, everything's energy. So how I show up is going to be how he feels, and like that's going to shift, the way that he interacts with me. So I do feel like that's enough. Of course, personal responsibility. He has to be responsible for whatever comes up for him. But at the same time, like I feel like as long as like I keep my side of the street clean, like it helps him keep his side of the street clean too. And so we can be in a relationship that is more flowing. And, like I mentioned, like I've messed up too, and I'm just human and I'm learning through it. And so I'm excited to just go back and just um, clean up my side of the street, so to
Go
speak.
for mastery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's what we do in our programs. We do them again and again and again and again. The ones we invest in. Now, before you did invest in this program, you still are. You're quite the savvy career woman, very smart. We always say responsibility is maybe one of the top qualities of becoming a wife. And I felt you had that. And I do remember before he brought you in, I was like, now, are you excited to get into your feminine and kind of turn off some of the career brain? And you're like, I love wearing pretty dresses and being feminine. And I knew you would slip into this lady archetype really well. And so when you say men initiate, it's because you came from that framework. It wasn't like two career men coming together. It was the lady and the knight. And that what gave us a proper vetting.
Mhm.
Um, I, I wonder if you have a comment on that. And then I have one final question.
Yeah, I think that is a lot of it, and leaning back and relaxing and allowing, and that has definitely helped with the courtship process to get to this point. And again, I can see where I've slipped up again, and I'm like, okay, back to the lady. I was just noticing that earlier today. I'm like, oh, I got to go back into the lady, and I think just having this course and just reminding myself again and again to go back and turn off that aspect of my career brain and into like needing to make things work to nope, I get to allow and receive is really helpful. And I think it's an ongoing process because we're taught as women to do the opposite of what we're naturally here to do, and having those reminders and slipping. That's why I'm wearing my dress, and that's why I'm like got like my did my makeup and my hair, and just like finding stuff that really fills up my cup, because when I can fill up my cup, then I can also, it can overflow into the relationship. And that's what I'm really noticing about myself right now.
I thought it was going to be really fun for you and a relief to be like, oh, turn off work brain and be treated like a lady. And you did
Hmm.
that very well. Some of the career skills help out really well, and some backfire totally. And
Yeah.
so I think it's great having you on here to show other career women that feel like it's a detriment. No, no, no. You can totally, it's not one or the other. You don't have to go trad wife or total boss babe.
Yeah.
You can be both. You
Yeah.
can be a business lady and have a thriving romance that will turn
Yeah.
into a marriage. Finley, my final question for you is just, it is unique work. A lot of ladies have never done a courtship journey. What would you say to a lady that says she wants to get married within a year, that's curious about doing this work with Claudia and I?
I would say like I would say you want to make sure that you're like ready to be on this journey, because I think there a lot of resistance can be coming up. But if
Mm.
you are truly committed and ready, just open yourself up to being coached and allowing the process to work for you versus trying to resist or trying to like do it your way, or trying to like do parts of it and not the full thing. I think when you're truly ready, you want to surrender to the process and just allow the process to take over and not try to micromanage or control, and just open yourself up to being coached so that the work can actually work for you.
Mm. I love that so much. Yeah. That's a good reminder for me. Other areas of my life.
Right.
It's
We
yeah,
work
it's
on
like
being
no.
coachable with our teachers too.
Well, yeah, it's like again, the career-minded woman is just like, oh, we want to get the thing and we want to like force it. And I always have to remind myself of that, even in this relationship. And I think it's okay to slip up, but just re-presence yourself to like why you're in this relation, or why you're in this program, and why you want the relationship, and to soften and allow and be coached and receive and be guided, because that's what you're wanting in a man as well.
You were just such a delight to work with, honestly. And like, I feel like the qualities that you brought, like personal responsibility and coachability, and like, just kind of like Jonathan says, like a winning attitude, like, you know, and really a desire for it. Like some people say maybe like the idea of marriage, or they like the idea of being a wife, but they don't really actually want it truly. And so you were just such a delight to work with on so many levels. And yeah, you really are like just such a shining example of what's possible for a woman when she does show up in this way. So thank you for thank you for being that amazing client. And all credit goes back to you, Midling, because you really showed up in the way that has allowed you to get these results.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate both of you, and I really enjoyed the process. It's been a lot of fun.
Yay.
Yeah, it was a pleasure bringing you through it. You deserve all the great results you're going to get and all the treasures that come. And don't forget, ladies, listening to this, it's a treasure for the man. This is why I often interview ladies to come in so I feel in good conscience. Oh, she'll make a wonderful wife. I
Yes.
know Minling will. I know headed for a fantastic partnership. If that's something you're interested in, we would love to talk to you.
Mhm.
We will, underneath this, most likely, we usually put a link where you can book a call with me. And if you're serious to be finding a husband this year, you click on that. We have a little application form. We'll look at it. We'll set up a time. And I usually think it's the best call you'll ever have about your love life. And that's our mission. We didn't realize how cool marriage was until we did it. And once we did, we realized we wanted to get as many women and men married as possible. We have a mission this year of getting 100 men and women married. We just met a client in Florence who lives here near us, and she's engaged. She went on the apps on Valentine's
She
Day.
went on Tinder. Yeah.
Oh, she went on Tinder because that's what they have here. They went on Tinder on Valentine's
Valentine's
Day,
Day.
and then she got engaged on
The next
Valentine's
Valentine's Day a
Day.
year later.
And I think they're getting married in August. So she's a glow. He's a glow. He actually said, I gave up on modern dating. I was so jaded, but then she brought something out within me. I see Minling doing the same and the women who are called for this work. So if you're called for this work like Minling, please reach out to us. We'd love to speak with you. And thank you so much
Thank you
once
so
again.
much, Minling.
It's always a
Yeah.
pleasure.